Hello everyone, welcome back to OC Recovery's YouTube channel. Before I go any further, you could please subscribe down below. As I say in the beginning of every video, lots of great resources on this channel. In the next probably coming year, we'll hopefully have 1,000 videos on this channel. The one thing that OC Recovery is doing is they're translating all the videos into 10 different languages to provide free information and resources to all these different places all around the world where OC Recovery is still in the dark ages. It's very much still in the dark ages in even, more developed countries, but we are definitely a lot further along than some areas of the world where they have absolutely nothing. So today I wanted to talk about, and it's probably not going to be too long of a video because I don't think it is too much depth to cover, but we're going to talk about the importance of basically not taking time off work. So the number one thing that taking time off work does is it instills a low frustration tolerance. As we know, low frustration tolerance, which is coined by Dr. Albert Ellis in the book, How to Stubbornly Refuse to Make Yourself Miserable About Anything, Yes, Anything, really goes to show you that humans really have an absolute dire need for comfort and certainty. Now, I'm not saying that being comfortable and having a comfortable bed or the idea of comfort is inherently bad, but it can be problematic for many when it does instill low frustration tolerance, when in fact, the world is full of adversities. So one of the number one things I see when I talk to people in the OC community is, so-and-so told me to take off time from work. I need to take a month off to decompress and stuff like that. So unfortunately, this usually doesn't lead people in the direction that they want to go into. It helps instill that belief system of, I'm just going to wait until, I feel a certain way in order to start my OC recovery journey. And this can be quite problematic for people. We don't want to just put off our whole entire life. The reason why Rob coined the term wearing anxiety like an uncomfortable coat, because it says exactly what it says on the tin. It means exactly what it says on the tin. Is wearing anxiety like an uncomfortable coat and going about your day and best living your life whilst you work on OC recovery. So that could be bringing along unwanted intrusive thoughts, images, sensations, urges, chronic physical sensations of anxiety. Maybe you also are suffering with post-traumatic stress disorder and OCD. Maybe you're suffering with generalized anxiety disorder and OCD, or a combination of the three, or separate. But you want to go and live your life bringing all of that discomfort with you. And usually there's also some other hidden fears, such as, well, what if people at work know that I have a disorder and I fall to the ground and I look crazy and everyone thinks I have psychosis? Well, bringing that along for the ride is going to get you further. You're more than likely, you want to have a panic attack at work if one's going to come. And people always ask me, what's the best thing to do if I'm having a panic attack in a public situation? Not fall to the ground, have the anxiety attack at work and be like, whoa, that was insane. Maybe your boss comes over and says, well, what the heck was that? You're like, hey, look, I have a disorder and I'm trying to work on recovery right now. And that's all you really have to say. If they keep prying, you just be like, hey, look, it's not going to help me to just tell you anymore. It could be a little bit reassurance for me. And explain, in a concise way, but not too confession-y, about what you have going on. I want to talk about my experience and why taking off, me not leaving grad school and me not taking off work was one of the best things that I could have ever done. I have my awesome, this cup today. It says, due to unfortunate circumstances, I'm awake. We're about halfway done with our Hawaiian coffee. If you've been watching my videos, I had my wife bring me home 5 pounds of coffee from Hawaii. We're coming to the end, towards the end. So when I first started chronically suffering, I was very adamant that I was going to take the quarter off in school. So we had quarters. So if any of you know about college credits, or in uni, as I think you call it in England or in other areas, an average college semester, which is half the year, is, 16 credits is a high one. 18 is really high. I was taking 32 credits every 11 weeks in my grad school, which is insane. So it was very stressful, and I thought taking off from work was the right thing to do, and taking off from doing anything in life, the gym and stuff like that. I remember I took 8 weeks off from the gym. It didn't help any of my problems. I felt really good in those 6 weeks. As soon as I went back, all my beliefs came right back. It was like, as soon as I walked in the door, all my body dysmorphic fears came right back because it was avoidance behaviors. It's not the way to go. The way to go is to bring those feelings and discomfort with you along the ride, and whatever happens, happens. You need to cultivate that attitude that other moderators have talked about, that even if it brings you to your knees, even if you fall down, this is and that. So When I first left school, I got a job. My wife and I were working at the same place, and it was really tough. I was leaving work early. I was lying. I actually lied a lot. I was saying that I had a business meeting and I would leave and I just would go to the mountains and sit on the rock and cry. And that really didn't get me anywhere because I had this belief that, okay, if I just get to a certain place, then I'll be okay to go back to work and I can work optimally. And that day is never coming. That day is never coming. There's never going to be this perfect moment where everything just falls into place and you're automatically ready to go back into the work environment. I wish that day was coming, but it really isn't. So as I said, before I go into the other part about my business with my wife, our business, is I really did believe that taking that time off was going to push me in the right direction. I thought if I just sat home and sat in bed and read all day, I just could force acceptance. I could really just force recovery. And it really didn't teach me anything because the number one thing I talk about, and I was having a great conversation with someone in the group the other day talking about, they finally said to me, I understand why you talk about low frustration tolerance so much. I understand why Ellis talks about it. It's because it's life. Cultivating a high frustration tolerance, even if your fears are real, even if you get rejected by society, even if I'm chronically stuck with hypersalivation, either if any of these things are real, you learn how to tolerate it because you accept its presence. You have unconditional life acceptance and unconditional self and unconditional other if the time and place comes to it. So we started our business and I was pretty bad in the beginning with Erica. I didn't help the business. I didn't do any of the paperwork. I didn't help build the company in a legal side. I didn't want to go do attorney meetings. I didn't want to do all the stuff that most people don't even enjoy doing because it is very boring and monotonous type stuff, but it needed to be done. And even recently, I've caught myself in ways trying to avoid certain things like dealing with certain federal companies where I'm just like, I don't want to do that. That paperwork's so boring. It's 35 pages of doing this, but you just have to realize that that's part of life and that's part of being a business owner. So as I started our business with my wife and things were really uncertain, we had no money coming in. We had a bunch of debts because I had 2 kidney stone surgeries and we don't have medical, universal health care here. So, but yeah, it was a huge, how do I want to say this? It was definitely a very scary experience, but I kind of knew deep down that going through this was going to push me in the right direction. So as the months went by, actually today, September 28th, is the first year our business has been open. So I'm very excited about that. And this is why this video kind of has a very good connotation and why I made it. And I was talking to Rob about that this morning, and I was talking about the Facebook post I made this morning. And actually, I never really do this on these because my computer's right behind me, but I will read the actual Facebook post. I think it's a really good post, so I will read it. So I'm going to move this over here a little bit, okay? So why taking time off work plays into low frustration tolerance and doesn't push us in the correct direction usually, not always. I want to start by saying there are some cases where time off work might be deemed necessary, but they're less common than one thinks. One of the phrases Rob has coined at OCD Recovery is wearing anxiety like an uncomfortable coat. This phrase has many meanings, but in its essence, it means this. Bring OCD along with you as you work on recovery. This means working out, going out, doing all sorts of things, living your life on your own terms. Taking time off work is usually a one-way track to avoidance behaviors. I'm going to put this a little bit more still like this and just move it like this. Again, this isn't to say that taking some downtime when you're extremely beat up isn't necessarily bad, because it's not. We all need downtime from time to time. That's not what I'm saying. But in the beginning of my recovery journey, I knew if I stopped living my life, OCD would become my life, more than it already was my life. What we mean is this. Going to work, even when suffering, helps slowly show your brain that you can handle working, even when chronically anxious, for example. Taking time off from work usually leads to a belief of, well, I will just wait for the right time to work on recovery. Remember, OCD wants us to live in a very small protected box. Get out there, go back to work. Start small if you have to. One of the best ways to improve low frustration tolerance is bring these uncomfortable sensations for the ride whilst working on recovery. Have a lovely day. This cannot be overlooked. There are many things that I accredit to why I am where I am today. In 3 days, I will have actively been working on recovery for 18 months. I remember when I first started working on recovery, I was crying in my car in the parking lot. It actually gets me a little emotional thinking about it. In the parking lot at where was I? I was at the post office. That's right. I was sending something out and I was talking to my buddy, and my buddy was already 2 years in the recovery. And he said, look, man, just take it moment by moment if you have to. I'm thinking to myself, I don't know how I'm going to do it. So I definitely was right there with you. I definitely know what it's like to, be in an area where it's very difficult to just see the future and see hope, especially when you're working on recovery and you're not seeing the progress. But I can tell you a one-way track to not seeing progress is taking significant time off work, constantly changing things in the spur of the moment. I got to go home from work right now. Learn how to wear that discomfort like an uncomfortable coat. Going through and starting a business with my wife and all of the hardships and all the struggles, whether it be money, mental struggles, thinking about the future, all of that has helped get me to where I am today. I'm not saying you have to go out there and start a business. I'm saying get back out there and live your life. Get back out there, go back to work, go to the gym if you like going to the gym, go hiking or riding bikes, go hang out with your friends, go to the bar and have a beer if you can handle it in a balanced manner. Do things, get out there. Don't let OCD rule your life. There's so much poor and garbage information out there telling you need to take a time off from work, you need to do all this. You don't need to take time off from work. That is such a rare scenario. It is so much rarer than you think. We catastrophize in our heads, and understandably so. You can do this. I know you can. Get out there. Go back to work. Go out and live your life. Bring those uncomfortable feelings, sensations, images, and urges with you whilst you work on recovery. Thank you and have a great day.